everyone! I get way overexcited to see you, or to have you see me. It's similar, but not the same. Welcome, thank you for checking it out or tuning in. Another week, another episode slash vlog slash show. Thanks for checking it out again. And if you're old here, if you've seen more than one, then love you more. And thanks for staying with it. I actually haven't checked. It's sort of an important thing. I haven't checked to see if I still have as many subscribers as I did 6 days ago when I last looked. That's just a fault of my own. It sounds like I'd be bragging because last time I talked to you about this, I was worried about losing all my subscribers. But the reality is I haven't checked. So therefore, in an effort to make it sound like I'm not bothering anybody, to make sure that you know that I'm not bothering anybody, I dare pull up my browser, which is currently ruining the lighting, and I'll check. So what am I looking for? My subscribers? No, that's going to take too much effort. Okay, we can't do that because I have to unsubscribe from the current account I'm on, which is the account that is not my usual account. So, and we'll get into that later. So, but for now, welcome. How are we? I did kind of miss you. In fact, I didn't work all week. So whether that's subconscious or whether I'm doing that for multiple reasons, including having a really busy month, I haven't worked since Sunday. So that assures that I would miss people. No, maybe it's the opposite. Now that I think about it, I think it's more likely that it'd be the opposite because I would want to, grind away and then maybe not grind for a half day or something and tune in and then see, it's all complicated because of last week's episode. I don't know, I don't know. But hopefully we enjoyed last week's episode. I feel like there was some, back and forth in there, and I hope it was entertaining enough for everybody. I understand that talking about it twice is the stupidest thing you could do, but we're just talking about the back and forth stuff and whatnot. I feel a little bit of a failure for not having a great joke of the week for you then. And this week, I have to put in a more of an effort, but I certainly have things that I owe you that I feel I should share. In the spirit of not looking at my notes, because who pays this much attention to their eye boogers? Not looking at my notes, I would love to start with what's new, and it would probably be best if I started with how are you? How's everybody? I mean, I sort of already skated over this, but I hope everybody's doing as good as me or better. I wouldn't say I had a great week or anything like that. Nothing special about it, except 2 extra days off on top of 2, right? So I feel like it's time to get back to work already. So, along the same lines of things I need to share with you, have certainly removed items from my possession that would indicate, this might even count as joke of the week, that I was getting rid of one habit or another. Now, I got rid of a mini bubbler, those things, and I got rid of an ashtray, a small ashtray. You don't need them, and I'm sorry, I can see myself, and I noticed that my lips are moving too much. Let me move this out of the way. You don't need them. Excuse me. In your life, and I'm not talking about one habit or the other. That was the humor. That was it. That was the joke of the week, per se, because I was sitting here trying to think right before we started recording on what might be funny and if I could actually have something for you to justify a joke of the week. But I haven't been doing that much intermingling, and I've been doing some, but it's sort of, now I suppose that's a good segue for us to move on to my other what's new in the week. Now I do write this stuff down, but I'm trying not to address it. I'm trying to use it to, by memory, to give to you so that you and I understand that we're having the most natural of conversations. It's the best way to do it, if you ask me. Ask me. Last week I certainly stumbled over a bunch of words and stuff. Proud to not be the smartest person in the room. Can you say that? Yeah. There's a computer in the room which knows 1 billion more words than you could ever know. But yeah, so in terms of what's new, went to the bars. In fact, this is going to be the only other thing I talk about in regards to myself here. When it comes to myself / in regards to myself here. Yeah, but that's the thing is because it directly affects possibly what happened in the most recent stuff we've talked about and stuff. But, you know, I am getting a certain amount of, and again, in terms of jokes of the weeks, I'm getting a certain amount of attention by default or because of my schedule. Now that the masks are less required in this day and age, and things that were part of my schedule are again part of my schedule, which reminds me I got to do some social media life. But I promise to get to this. It's none of anybody's business. But I've been going out there and giving people attention and trying to receive some of my own. And so here I am doing what is essentially being downgraded to what it originally should be. Not a reason to start a vlog / show altogether, but a reason to get a career going, potentially. Depending on whether I give up on this stuff or not. And that's where the bars come in, is now that I've been going to the bars, we've mentioned this earlier, we've spoken about it earlier, and when the bars open, I was afraid that I would have less passion towards doing this. And I don't know what, spending an extra couple days on top of the 2 that I allot myself each week is gonna do to my enthusiasm when jumping back on here. But hopefully, I'm still alive, I'm still excited and wanting to, entertain every second. Last week's episode, I honestly can't believe how much I do not understand how to put phrases together or whatever. It certainly happened more than I expected. But that may be a good thing. You listen to that episode or watch that episode if you want. If you haven't seen it, excuse me. I'm only paying attention to the people that are subscribed right now. So, yeah, a little bit of here, a little bit of there, and that was going to be my joke of the week, and we can get to that later, or we can get to it now. How about we get to it now, because I'm trying to simulate natural conversation, which just means if I can do it, you can do it. We've come to all that we've come to in terms of what is natural progression in trying to understand what is a podcast. See, I don't do this like other people do this. There are certainly some people out there that I feel like I could challenge in terms of doing a, podcast. I put the bunny ears around that because a one-man podcast is a show, and that reminds me of what I wanted to talk about instead of joke of the week. But yeah, so that's why I call it a vlog. Enough about that, because we definitely I definitely, tiptoe around that too much for sure. So hopefully from now on, if I mess up, I won't even correct myself. It's sort of what I'm getting at. And I apologize for all some borderline abusive, maybe attempt at humor there all this time. Anyway, I remember what I wanted to say. Instead of maybe getting into the topic of joke of the week, we could still save that for later. But a couple of things in the news this week, and this is the perfect segue from what we were talking about when it comes to simulating natural conversation, right? So, if you want to do a podcast / show, I mean, it's a podcast if other people are calling theirs podcast and all they do is sit in front of a camera, right? Then, you're more than, I think you're more than able, because we have both been doing this together in all reality and have both been coming up with, and this is my best idea of what is the best. So essentially it's a vlog format. Oh, fucking idiots, That's what I mean. Anybody doing? No. I can only be a kind spirit. What am I doing? I'm no hater. If you're brave enough to do this, then I give you all the props in the world that I could possibly hand over. But yeah, so we've talked about what's new, right? What's going on, right? So then I can't ask you, so then I pretend that I've asked you, and then you ask me what's in the news, or you bring up something that's in the news, or one of us brings it up. And a couple things in the news this week, and I would love to keep this one short because I'd love to simulate you choking me to death, and that means choking my ability to have conversation out of me, out of my lungs or whatever. But a couple topics here. It's good to see. We talked about him a bunch. In fact, I did a whole segment on him. He was 1/3 of a show several weeks ago. And I try not to keep in touch with some of this stuff because it's touch and go. All these topics that I cover some of them are heavy and some of them are a little too, a little too much for a one person to talk about. There's nobody around me. There's nobody that's going to see this, put this together, and then chuck it out there for the rest of the public to see. So, one-man show. When I get into the bigger stuff, it certainly is my opinion, and therefore I try not to keep up with this stuff unless I'm confirming a solid, / sharing a piece of my brain with you, a solid opinion. But we talked about him a little bit directly, and it's enough for me to bring it back up around, because I would like to give the guy props for getting as far, living his life, and then getting as far as he's gotten, and then sort of being, I heard on the radio one day, I was out and about doing my job, and the national public radio station that I listen to covered comedian Brian Callen is being accused of whatnot, and I don't know, whatever. So that was out of my car stereo speakers, right? So, and I have a bit of passion when it comes to this stuff because I apparently brushed by the presence of one Theo Vaughn once, and maybe that's enough energy for me to pick up on, and because I do check in on him every now and again, more like watch his shows or podcasts or whatever, I sort of feel that Mr. Brian Callen has a lot of weight in the industry, and seems to be a very sweet guy. And you know what? I'm sure if I were to meet somebody that had all of his qualities, I'm sure we'd get along. So that just means that plus all of his weight in the industry, I'm thinking he's sort of making it awkward for people that are hovering around his friend circle. And it's really, how much of a friend circle is it if you guys are in the same industry together and you run into each other all the time, you know, in pursuit of, how do you say, money, right? So, but I feel like his weight in the industry is affecting other people, and then we get back to Theo Vaughn, and it comes to maybe me passing and maybe me just watching his shows and stuff like that. I'm no celebrity hunter. You're not gonna find me talking about people I've seen. In fact, right now I'll shut my lips because I wouldn't want to mention any other BS about any other thing. So having said that, it's not, I mean, you could ask me about all the celebrities that I've passed in my past when it comes to my relation with Scientology. I don't mind all those people. I'll talk to you because it's not a brag. In fact, I think less of them, right? So I would just be telling you that, you know, if you worked for them for 2 years, how many people you might see, especially if you worked in and around them on the premises because your mom and dad did. I don't know. So, I mean, there is not even a humble brag here. I'm fucking disgusted, sincerely, about talking about stuff like that. So, I mean, I think I get my point across here. But essentially, it's good to see Brian Callen out there doing his podcast. He's doing his podcast that he used to be on. And maybe they've changed the name a little bit and they changed the website a little bit. But he's done a bunch in a row, I believe. And I'm still mid-watching maybe the last one. I still haven't watched the most recent one he did. But it's great to see people jumping on board, supporting him. It's not great to see anybody not joking about what happened, but maybe that will come. Who's the funniest? Who's the funniest? But we love you, Brian, Mr. Callen. We do, and we hope you don't feel too guilty about what you may have done in terms of what are the real details. I know you're denying everything. I know you're not going to actually see this as well. Part of the humor, if I'm going to pretend like I'm directly talking to somebody. But it's good to see him back and you know, starting from what seems to be a crashing point and working his way back to what is normal, right? And I don't even know if it was a crashing point. He said he was going to continue to kick ass or something. I'm not even paraphrasing, but he said something like that. So maybe it wasn't even a low, but probably a low in his personal life. So I don't know. I've only heard of people that were headed to see his show, a boy and a girl. They were together, and they came from Australia, I believe. And they went to the Comedy Store to see him. And so that's about all I have in terms of actual real life interpersonal, you know, whatever. And boy, was she cute. And the boy, might I add, I mean, I'm the guy who's less likely to talk about how handsome somebody is, but they seemed like a very cute couple from Australia. I know you get all different colors in Australia, all different shades of skin is what I mean. So, we're not necessarily saying we're talking about their age more than we're talking about any of their physical features outside of good looking. So, and I was dropping him off at the Comedy Store or something like that. So, good for him. And then I have been going on for a little while now, and I'd like to close at 20 minutes or less than 25 for sure. So I can only briefly touch upon this. And you know what? I wanted to get into last week's episode, which is actually the next segment, but we shall, because this is in the news and it's a big deal, and I want you guys to know that I put all my eggs in the same basket as you, and we might be emotionally involved here, but let me get to what I'm talking about before I say all this. Steven Crowder is suing YouTube. I don't know all the details, as I'm sure you don't. But that's not me trying to get out of something. What I'm seeing is Steven Crowder has a huge following in relation to people that are on YouTube, the site, right? So if I wanted to quantify it or I qualify it, when it comes to even the American public, 350 million, there isn't a single person who has more than, I don't know, who's the most subscribed to on YouTube? I mean, who has the most subscribers, right? So, and is that even a game, right? Because we talked about this last episode. But either way, is YouTube going to be a public utility? Are they pretending to be a publisher? Whatever the hell it may be, I feel like Steven Crowder has a case here. And I want to join his team officially. I want to jump into the publicly supporting Steven Crowder in his lawsuit against a platform that is supporting me in my videos here. Now, do I really mean to get into getting feisty with the people that may one day pay ads on these, on these videos or whatever? No, I don't. I'm no fighter like that. This is a matter of principle. If Mr. Steven Crowder is suffering right now because he feels like he's been unfairly treated because of his political views, I tend to hear him out and agree. I don't necessarily ascribe to everything he says, blah, 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 blah. Don't make me sound, Braden, don't make yourself sound boring. But I certainly believe in what he's doing. I certainly believe it. I certainly do. We can all jump on the same boat. And if you're not in the same boat, may you never watch again, etc., etc. Whoops, I almost peeked at my notes there. But because I wanted to talk about last week's episode a little bit, it's only fun if I've entertained you, and if I've entertained you enough up to this point. And last week's episode I mentioned, and I'm not sure that I have, but here we go. Last week's episode I mentioned Michael Jackson. I only wanted to throw Tom Cruise as another example in that same arena. When people want to do the world good, or they publicly announce or pronounce that they want to make the world a better place as they're living life, then they're subjecting themselves to giving you a twist. It's almost like the person who feels that they need to say that is actually hiding something or wants to hide something because, it's similar to if you were a really hilarious person, known as a very hilarious person worldwide, you would want to be the most dense, matter of fact. Can I say dry? Yeah, dry. You get where I'm going. Individual that you could ever be. Because all you ever do is hear about, So, I just wanted to throw Tom Cruise in there as an example, We're once again mentioning my connections to, and frankly, I'm free and I'm beginning to feel it now as a matter of principle. I feel more and more free as the days go on. I could talk about this stuff more openly. I'm certainly disgusted by the part where people of how do you say, high recognition status, famous people, get involved. Okay, enough, right? And the hesitation to continue talking about it is that it feels like, just because I'm on, YouTube doesn't mean it's not the same exact, the example doesn't apply, but it feels like I'm taking a shortcut. There you go. So what are we, where are we at? Joke of the week, and then we're out of here. I can show you my armpits. My shirt is dark. So the armpit check, if you're new here, that's just how nervous is the guy. I feel like my eye movement has been a little blinky, and maybe I haven't been as excited as I always am, but that doesn't mean anything. This is my third glass of this, and it's getting late, if you ask me. I go to bed early. No, it's not getting late, but it's late. It's late. But yeah, those were my armpits. I don't know. You can't even see them, and there's not even moisture. So I'm not sweating. The window's closed. The fan's on high, but I should be sweating, and I'm definitely not. So that just means we're all on the same boat here. We love each other, hopefully. But joke of the week was going to be, right before I pressed record, I was going to say, well, let's regress back to what is, because I couldn't think of something before I started, what is pickup line of the week. And little sensitive here. I'm not trying to get on anybody's, but I showed people my armpits this week because we talked about a crazy topic, and this doesn't count as talking to people because, but then again, they brought up somebody slapping somebody's ass super inappropriately before we started talking. And so maybe that's one way for people to start a conversation when you're working and you're in a professional work relationship, or at least amateur. But what was I doing? I was going for, I don't remember. But I showed him at the end of the conversation, I said, how much am I sweating? And I had a light blue shirt on. And I made sure to see what they were seeing afterwards. But that's why I threw that in there. But the real joke of the week is my pickup line. We're downgrading or maybe upgrading, depending on how you look at it, to pickup line of the week. And then, wow, oh wow, I went way too long. I don't even want to say it. I can't believe this page just switched over, which means we're headed into close to half an hour here. So, but yeah, this really depends on how you feel about me sharing pickup lines with you, possibly taking them away from you if I've already used them. But let's say you meet up with somebody who's half decent looking that you're attracted to on the corner, sidewalk on the corner. And I may or may not have done this. Tell me if you think it's got heat. But it might be cool if you told the opposite gender, perhaps, that you were wondering who was going to go ahead of the other person because you were wondering who was busier. It's so awkward telling jokes anyway. How about an awkward opening liner or whatever? All right, guys, you know it's time to get the fuck out of here. I apologize for going a little long this week. I'm super sorry. I promise next week will be shorter. But that's all just because, you know, I don't know 100% if we're having a good time yet. Maybe I check my subscribers. Maybe we've gone up. Maybe we stayed the same. I don't know. Hopefully we haven't gone down. I would love to have kept the original core subscribers that have subscribed, which should be a total of 4 people. And I've since checked. I have not subscribed to myself. So it would be a total of 5 people. I would love if you 5 stay as you 5. Not the case. Currently I'm missing an arm and a leg, but they're on opposite sides, so. All right, guys. It's been fun. I don't know how to exit, but I know when to punch out. So let's just say have a great week. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for tuning in. Love you so much, especially if you love me back, right? And if you're new here and you hung out this whole time, I mean, good for you. It's a miracle that y'all people do. I should keep my energy levels as high as they could possibly be, which is something I attempt to do every single show from now on. So, love you all back. Don't give me any love. I'll return it ×2. Minimum. So have a good week, and I'll see you next week. Peace.